Catch Me If You Can. The thing I took away most from this movie is that it is nostalgia, like, done correctly. There is so much nostalgia in all pop culture nowadays. It is oversaturated. I loved the way that it's a modern cowboy movie in so many ways, and it was made at a time like the early 2000s. Like it feels like so long ago now that it was very okay for not just a movie to be fun, but for a movie to be light. I really think that if a movie is a good light film, is, I think, a lot more memorable than a very heavy, serious film. Like, everything that Adam McKay does now, for instance. Adam McKay, take the movies that he made, like Step Brothers, Talladega Nights, Anchorman. Anchorman, one of the greatest movies of all time. Fantastic. I think it has done more for film, more for the culture, more for entertainment than Don't Look Up or The Big Short, which I know stupid people love to watch The Big Short. It is one of the dumbest things out there. Look, Vice, I think, is well edited, but that movie is doing nothing. But I think it shows that there's an idea that the heavier movies, the weightier movies have more to offer the culture than much lighter movies and I just think that's ridiculous. Spielberg doesn't even have this level of fun anymore. And it's almost perfect. He does good nostalgia and then bad nostalgia. He has Ready Player One on one end where it's nothing but just throwing references in your face the whole time, hoping that does half of the work of the movie. A movie like this, though, it's very good nostalgia. Catch Me If You Can does it the right way. By that I mean that it puts the characters and the story first, and then the nostalgia, it has to come second. And I love that in Catch Me If You Can, it's this weird idea of, it's like the American dream, but it's the American dream in the 60s, and it's not like going out and doing the hard work in the traditional way. It's more like, it's like you slip in through the back door. You kind of, you cheat your way a little bit, but in a way that's kind of how you do it. You're supposed to kind of find your own way, make your own way. And the Abagnale character does that. His father kind of shows him how to do that, how somewhere here, like somewhere in America, you're able to just kind of push, just kind of find where the holes are, and you can slip through. And if you slip through, that's what it means to succeed. And the movie gives the positive and the negative side, which I think is very necessary for nostalgia. So that idea kind of fuels everything. This idea of find your own way, good or bad. But on one side, you have the good side of it, with the good side of nostalgia, which is, it's just the fun of being able to almost be James Bond. And you feel that, like, there's literally a point where he sees himself, he watches James Bond, and he kind of equates it in that moment to what it is that he's doing. He's pretending to be an airline pilot, a lawyer, a doctor, and it makes the whole thing look very, very sexy. And Spielberg is great for this type of thing. Like, he's one of those directors that is bridging the time from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and is making some of the most memorable movies of even the modern era. He's still doing it to a degree. So whenever he's filming, he knows how to hire the right people to get the clothing. He's got John Williams making a brilliant score. The sets are immaculate. But Spielberg has the knowledge and the talent and the skill to bring the lightness of the nostalgia out. But the thing that I think is most important to make the nostalgia work is that you have to acknowledge that the time that we're being nostalgic about was as shitty as we feel today is. Midnight in Paris is a perfect movie that talks about this. That whole movie is nostalgia, and it's about this character realizing, oh, so I wanted to live in the 20s in France, but it's not that cool. It wouldn't have been that fun. If I was in the 20s, I would have wanted to live in the mid-1800s. And the movie understands that bringing the 60s to life doesn't mean just showing you the cars, the clothes, the careers, the glitz, the glamour. It understands that that's important and you have to get that right, and it does, but a lot of movies try to do that nowadays. This understands that at that time, there's a feeling of, I can actually do whatever I want in America. And you realize that this administrative side of America is growing. The FBI is growing. This is not the Wild West. The Wild West, while it still exists, and Abagnale might have been one of the final people to exist in it, it's shrinking. You're not going to be able to do whatever you want, no matter how smart you are. And you know what? Even if you are one of the smartest people away and you get away with it, we're going to co-opt you and you're going to become part of the system that is shrinking the Wild West. More so, not even on the side of, the societal stuff that's going on. You see that at that time, there's a postcard idea of what the 50s and 60s really were when it comes to the suburbia side. And, there's a bit of that going on here, and you see the good sides of it, but there's also just the decay that you're seeing of it going on. Everyone's coming back from World War II. There's this romanticism of the fact that we're not going through a period of massive wars anymore. And so everyone's just at home, but everyone's at home, and you can still see that it's not a perfect family. Other people they're drifting apart, and you see someone like the Leonardo DiCaprio character is trying to get everyone to stay together, and it's not happening. And that's really, more so than anything else, that's the thing that is driving his character. And Spielberg does a great job of portraying that through conversation, but even portraying that visually. He does a great job with that. That really is the thing that sells the nostalgia, that really firmaments it. I think the most important thing, though, is that it's a light film, and you're able to get a lot from it because it's not going so heavy-handed. It doesn't feel like it's trying. We're not talking about a murderer here. We're not talking about someone that really hurt anyone. Frank Abagnale Jr. was just, faking checks. He was hurting the banks more than anything else. The stakes aren't that high. You're able to have a fun time with it. Spielberg does a great job with that. Even in something like The Post, that same type of energy is there. And we don't have that very much. It feels like if we're going to tell a story, even a story that has a level of style and fun, it's got to be heavy-handed in some way with the subject. I think if you have a subject in a story that is able to be light, if you tell that story well, it's able to go further than I think most heavy-handed movies that are really trying to prove a point. Because you never get anything, really, when you're trying to prove a point. Your mind turns it off because it's not a good story anymore. That becomes more propaganda-y, and that's no fun. A movie that this did remind me of, though, is The Informant. Love The Informant. I think The Informant's a better movie than this, but this movie's fantastic. Check that one out, too. Movies about liars are fantastic. But leave your thoughts in the comment about Catch Me If You Can, if you've seen it, and also, if you have not already, subscribe to 5 Minute Critic for future updates on reviews and movie news.